exercise 13.1 from the chapter Statistics. So in the first question they've given that a survey was conducted by a group of students, a part of their environment awareness program, in which they collected the following data regarding the number of plants in 20 houses in a locality. We need to find the mean number of plants per house. So they've given the class interval of the number of plants planted, which is 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, and 12 to 14. And they've given the frequency So we're going to use the direct method in order to solve the problem, in order to find the mean, because they're asking us to state why we use the method in order to find the mean. So we're going to use the direct method because it'll be easier for us to solve because the values are much smaller. So since they've given us the fi, we need to find the xi, because in order to find using the direct method, we need to know the summation of fi xi and the summation of fi. So using the direct method, the mean will be given by the summation of fi xi divided by the summation of fi. So since they've given us the values of the fi, and we need to find the values of xi, so the values of xi will be given by the sum of the upper limit and the lower limit divided by 2. So 2 plus 0 divided by 2 is 1. 2 plus 4 divided by 2 is 3. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 6 plus 4 is equal to 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So similarly, we need to find all the values of xi's for their corresponding class interval. Next, fi xi is the multiplication of the terms in fi and the terms in xi. So 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 3 is 6, 5 times 1 is 5, and so on. So then we need to find the summation of the terms in the fi xi column, which is 162, and the summation of all the terms in the fi column, which is 20. And the mean by the direct method is given by the summation of fi xi, which is fi xi divided by the summation of fi. So here the summation of fi xi will be equal to 162 divided by the summation of fi, which is 20. So 162 divided by 20 is equal to 8.1, which is the mean of the given data. In the second question they've given that consider the following distribution of daily wages of 50 workers of a factory. Find the mean daily wage of the workers of the factory by using the appropriate method. So they've given us the class interval and they've given us the frequency. And we're going to use the step deviation method in order to find the mean of the given data. So to use the step deviation method, we need to find two things. We need to find the value of di, ui, and fi ui. So first, we need to find the values of xi. So the values of xi is the sum of the upper limit and the lower limit divided by 2. So 500 plus 520, which is 1020 divided by 2, will give us 510. Similarly, 520 plus 540, which is 1060 divided by 2, will give us 530, and so on. Once we've found the values of xi, which are the following, we need to find di. So here we're going to assume a mean from the terms in the xi. So the assumed mean here can be any terms in the xi, but typically we take the middlemost term in the number of terms in the xi. So here, since there's an odd number of terms, there's 5 terms in the xi column, we'll be able to take the absolute middle term in the column of the xi. However, if there are even number of terms, we'll have 2 middle terms, and in that case, we can take either one of the 2 terms as the assumed mean. So once we've taken the assumed mean as 550, which is the middlemost term in the xi column, the di value is given by xi minus the assumed mean. So here it'll be 510 minus 550, which will give us minus 40. 530 minus 550 will give us minus 20. 550 minus 550 is 0. 570 minus 550 is 20. 590 minus 550 is 40. And the ui value is given by the di minus the difference of the upper limit and the lower limit. So the difference of the upper limit and the lower limit is 20, as 520 minus 500 will give us 20. So the value of ui is given by di minus the difference of the upper limit and the lower limit. So minus 40 divided by 20 will give us negative 2. Negative 20 divided by 20 will give us minus 1, and so on. So fi ui is the product of fi and ui. So minus 24, minus 14, 0, 6, and 20. So using the assumed step deviation method, the mean is given by the summation of fi ui divided by summation of fi. So the summation of fi ui here would be negative 12, and the summation of fi values here would be 50. So the mean would be minus 12 divided by 50. Plus the assumed mean times the height of the class interval, which is equal to the assumed mean. So the mean here is given by the assumed mean plus the height of the class interval times the summation of fi ui by the summation of fi. So here we've taken the assumed mean as 550. So 550 plus the height of the class interval, which is basically the difference of the upper limit from the lower limit, which is 20, times the summation of fi ui, which is negative 12, over the summation of the fi values, which is 50. So 0 and 0 will get cancelled. So when we simplify this, we will get 545.2, which is the mean of the given data. In the third question, they've given that the following distribution shows the daily pocket allowance of children of a locality. The mean pocket allowance is rupees 18. We need to find the missing frequency. So in this question, they've given the value of the mean. We just need to find the value of f, which is unknown. So we're going to use the step deviation method in order to solve for x. So they've given us the frequencies. We need to find xi. So we know that xi is the sum of the upper limit and the lower limit divided by 2. So 11 plus 13 is 24, divided by 2 is 12, and so on for all of the other class intervals. And next, di is given by xi minus a. So we're going to take 18 as the assumed mean because it's the middlemost term, and since there are odd number of terms in the xi column, we'll be able to take the exact middle term, which is 18. So xi minus a, so 12 minus 18 minus 6, 14 minus 18 minus 4, 16 minus 18 minus 2, and so on. So fi di is the product of fi and di. So 7 times minus 6 is minus 42, and so on. Here we'll have f and 2, so fi times di would be 2f. So when we're using the step deviation method, the mean is given by the assumed mean plus the summation of fi di divided by the summation of fi. So here we need to find the summation of fi di. The summation of fi di is 2f minus 40, and the summation of fi is given by 44 plus 4. And we know the assumed mean is 18. So the mean is already given to us. So we know that x bar is equal to 18. So we're going to substitute that here. So we can say that 18 is equal to the assumed mean, which is also 18, plus the summation of fi di, which is 2f minus 40, divided by 44 plus f. So 18, because it is in addition, can be brought over to the left-hand side, so it becomes 0. So 0 is equal to 2f minus 40, divided by 44 plus f. And when 44 plus f is brought over to the left-hand side, 0 times any number is 0, so 0 is equal to 2f minus 40. So we can say that 2f is equal to 40, f is equal to 20. So that is what they're asking us to find. So the value of f is equal to 20. In the fourth question, they've given that 30 women were examined in a hospital by a doctor and the number of heartbeats per minute were recorded and summarized as follows. We need to find the mean heartbeats per minute for these women, choosing a suitable method. So here we're going to use the step deviation method. So they've given us the values of Fi, we need to find the values of Xi, and we know that Xi is the sum of the upper limit, lower limit divided by 2, so 65 plus 68 will equal to an odd number. That is why the values of Xi will be in a decimal form. So 65 plus 68 divided by 2 is equal to 66.5, and so on for all of the corresponding class intervals. Next, we need to find the value of Di. We know Di is equal to Xi minus A. Xi minus A is 66.5 minus A, so we're going to take 75.5 as the assumed mean because it's the middlemost term in the column of the Xi. So 66.5 minus 75.5 is equal to minus 9, 69.5 minus 75.5 is equal to minus 6, and so on. The value of Ui is given by Di minus the difference from the lower limit from the upper limit. So 68 minus 65 is equal to 3, so Ui is equal to minus 9 divided by 3, so minus 9 divided by 3 is equal to minus 3, minus 6 divided by 3 is minus 2, minus 3 divided by 3 is equal to minus 1, and so on. Fi Ui is the product of Fi and Ui, so 2 times minus 3 is equal to minus 6, 4 times minus 2 is equal to minus 8, and so on. So when we're using the assumed step deviation method to find the mean is given by assumed mean plus the height of the class interval times the summation of Fi Ui divided by the summation of Fi. So here we know the assumed mean is 75.5, the height is 68 minus 65 is equal to 3, we need to find Fi Ui. So the summation of Fi Ui here will equal 4, and the summation of all of the Fi values will equal 3. So the mean is given by the assumed mean, which is 75.5, plus the height, which is 3, times the summation of Fi Ui, which is 4, divided by 30. So 3 and 30 will get cancelled. So 75.5 plus 4 divided by 10, which is 75.5 plus 0.4, which is equal to 75.9, which is the mean value for the given data. In the fifth question, they've given that in a retail market, fruit vendors were selling mangoes kept in packing boxes. These boxes contain various number of mangoes. The following was the distribution of mangoes according to the number of boxes. We need to find the mean number of mangoes kept in a packing box. And which method of finding the mean did you choose? So we're going to use the step deviation method, where they've given us the Fi value. We need to find Xi, Di, Ui, and Fi Ui. So we know that Xi is given by the sum of the upper limit, lower limit divided by 2. So 49.5. Okay, so here they've given that the class intervals are irregular, meaning it's 50 to 52 and 53 to 55. So we need to subtract 0.5 from the lower limit and add 0.5 to the upper limit. So this was the original class interval that they've given, and we need to modify it so that it is regular. So we need to subtract 0.5 from the lower limit, so 49.5, and add 0.5 to the upper limit, so 52.5, and so on for the other terms. So now, since we've got our new class intervals, we're going to need to find the values of Xi. So Xi is 49.5 plus 52.5 divided by 2, which is equal to 51, and so on for the corresponding class intervals. Di is given by the class mark Xi minus the assumed mean. Here we're going to take 57 as the assumed mean. So Xi minus 57, which is 51 minus 57, which is equal to minus 6, minus 3, 0, 3, and 6 for the values of Di. Ui is Di minus Di divided by the height of the class interval. So height of the class interval is 52 minus 50, which is 2. So Di divided by 2, which is minus 6 divided by 59.5 and 52.5 is the new class interval. So the new class height for this interval would be 52.5 minus 49.5, which will give us 3. So 3 is the height of the class interval. So di divided by the class interval, which is minus 6 divided by the class interval 3, is minus 2. Minus 3 divided by 3 is equal to minus 1, and so on. Fi ui is the product of fi and ui, so 15 times minus 2 is minus 30, and so on. So when we're using the step deviation method, the mean is given by the assumed mean plus the class height times the summation of fi ui divided by the summation of fi. So the summation of fi ui would be 25, and the summation of fi would be 400. And we know the assumed mean is 57. So x bar is equal to 57 plus the class height, which is 3 times 25 by 400. So when we simplify this, we will get 57 plus 0.1875. So 57 plus 0.1875 is equal to 57.19, because we can round 1875 to 19. So the mean value is equal to 59.19. In the sixth question, they've given that the table below shows the daily expenditure of food on 25 households in a locality. We need to find the mean daily expenditure on food by a suitable method. So for this question, we're going to use the step deviation method to find the mean for this question. So they've given us the fi values. We need to find xi. So xi is 100 plus 150, which is 250 divided by 2 is 125, and so on. And the value of di is given by the xi minus the assumed mean. So from the given terms, we can take the assumed mean as 225, which is the middlemost term in the number of terms in the xi column. So xi minus 225. So 125 minus 225 would be minus 100, and so on. And the value of ui is the di value divided by the class height. So the value of di here is negative 100, and the class height is 150 minus 100, so 50. So minus 100 divided by 50 is equal to minus 2, which is the value of ui, and so on. The fi ui is the product of fi and ui, so 4 times minus 2 is equal to negative 8, and so on. So since we're using the step deviation method to find the mean is given by x bar is equal to the assumed mean plus the height times the summation of fi ui divided by the summation of fi. So the summation of fi ui is negative 7, and the summation of fi is 25. We know the assumed mean is 225, and the height is 50. So 225 plus 50 times minus 7 divided by 25 will give us the mean. So 50 and 25 can be cancelled. So 225 minus 14 is equal to the mean. So 225 minus 14 is equal to 211, which is equal to the mean. In the seventh question, they're asking us to find out the concentration of SO2 in the air in parts per million. The data was collected for 30 localities in a certain city and is presented below. So we need to find the mean concentration of SO2 in the air. Since the numbers given are significantly small, we're going to use the direct method to find the mean of the data. So they've given us the values of fi. We need to find xi, and xi is the upper limit and the lower limit divided by 2. So 0.04 divided by 2 is 0.02, and so on to find all of the values of xi. And we need to find fi xi, which is the product of fi and xi. So 4 times 0.02 is equal to 0.08, and so on. And since we're using the direct method to find the mean is given by the summation of fi xi divided by the summation of fi. So the summation of fi xi here would be 2.96, and the summation of fi here would be 30. So the mean is equal to 2.96 divided by 30. So 2.96 divided by 30 can be written as 296 divided by 3000. So when we cancel these values, we will get 98.67 divided by 1000. So when we cancel by the third table, we will get 98.67 divided by 1000, and 98.67 divided by 1000 is equal to 0.0986. So we can round this off to 0.099, which is the mean. In the 8th question, they've given that a class teacher has the following absentee record of 40 students of a class for the whole term. We need to find the mean number of days the student was absent. So in this question, we will notice that the class size are not the same. So first we have 0 to 6 and 6 to 10. So here it differs by 6, here it differs by 4, and here it differs by 8. So the class size is not the same. So hence we're going to use the direct method to solve for the mean. So when we're using the direct method to solve for the mean is given by the summation of fi xi divided by the summation of fi. So the summation of fi xi here would be 499, and the summation of fi here would be 40. So x bar, is equal to 499 divided by 40. So 499 divided by 40 is equal to 12.48. So the mean is equal to 12.48. In the 9th question, they've given that the following table gives the literacy rate in percentage of 35 cities. We need to find the mean literacy rate. So here we're going to use the direct method to solve for the mean. So the direct method would be summation of fi xi divided by the summation of fi. So here the summation of fi xi would be 2,430, and the summation of fi would be 35. So 2,430 divided by 35 is equal to 69.43, which would be the mean percentage.